everybody and welcome to this video which will provide you with a top band sample answer for question 1 on the higher tier AQA GCSE English and English language papers. In the last video we looked at how to answer this question. We looked in detail at the mark scheme and what you need to do exactly in order to get the 7 to 8 marks in that top band. We discussed how you needed to fully understand the text, how you needed to provide a detailed engagement and make perceptive connections. Now, if you haven't already seen that video, it's well worth watching that all the way through before you look at the sample answer for this, as it probably will make more sense. Now, in that video, we went through inference, we went through what deduction was, and we discussed how you needed to use those skills in your point, quote, explain. We looked at an example of how we could use inference and deduction to suggest what was written in the text. We also talked about how question 1 on the higher tier exam is always about the issues and concerns of perhaps a writer or the general public. And we also discussed how you needed to use point, quote, explain to structure your answer. And you needed to do this 4 to 5 times in order to show the examiner that you had a detailed answer. And the example that I gave you, the lesson that I wanted you to do was I wanted you to read through an article on John David Glaude, which is available on my website aceyourexams.wordpress.com. I wanted you to read through that and I wanted you to have a go at answering the question, what do you understand about John David Glaude's experience and the issues associated with extreme weight in the article. So hopefully you've had a good go at that. This is the article itself. Again, you can get that as a free download on my website. I also gave you some points that you could include if you were struggling with picking out some of the points. Obviously have another look at that video if you haven't already done so. And I also gave you some useful phrases that you could use in your answer to show the examiner that you have fully understood what you've read, you've looked at the whole of the text, and that you've used a really good point, quote, explain structure. So let's have a look at the answer that I've written that I would give 8 marks for. Again, it's a top band answer and we need to look at this in detail and I will show you exactly why it would get 8 marks for this question. So first of all, it definitely is a detailed answer. Now, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 point, quote, explain paragraphs. When I hand wrote this on paper, it covered 2 sides, and that is the normal space that you get for question 1. So immediately the examiner knows that it is a detailed answer. You can also see that at the beginning of each paragraph, I have pointed out to the examiner that I've read the whole of the article because I've used phrases such as at the beginning of the article, later on in the article, and at the end of the article. So again, the examiner is clear that you have read the whole of the article and not just skim read the top. So let's have a look at this first paragraph then. At the beginning of the article, we learn that John David Glaude was morbidly obese before his phenomenal transformation. Now, what's particularly good about the way I have used my quotes is I have actually embedded my quotes within the sentence, and that means I've used the words of the quote to form my sentence, and that shows greater sophistication if we can do that. So here we go, that's our point, our answer to the question, and also our quote as well. And here in the black, we've got our inference and our deduction. So it is what is suggested by the words in the quote. So I've written, this suggests that Glaude's weight was seriously affecting his health, and indeed it is likely that his lifespan would have been cut short if he had not lost the weight. Now obviously I've used my inference skills to figure out that morbidly is associated with death and that therefore I've linked it to the fact that his lifespan would have been cut short. I've also put the fact that his weight loss is described as phenomenal implies that losing such a staggering amount of weight would have been extremely difficult if not nigh on impossible for most people. So phenomenal obviously gave me the impression that this would have been extremely difficult for any person to have lost that amount of weight, and phenomenal is a very positive word to use. So what he's done is an amazing thing. So I've used my inference skills to suggest what that word phenomenal says about him as a person. So that is our first point, quote, explain paragraph. Again, we've looked at the point and the quote here. We've got our suggestion, and we've also told the examiner that we've found that point at the beginning of the article. So this second paragraph, this one here, also forms the same structure. We've got the bit at the beginning that says another thing we learned. So again, it tells us that we are structuring our answer. And then we say another thing we learn about Claude's weight loss experience is that he has been left with layers of excess skin. So again, that's our point. It's answering the question. And again, we are embedding our quote. We're using the words in the quote to form part of the sentence, again showing greater sophistication. Then we've got our inference here. He explains that while he was overweight, he felt very self-conscious. Again, another quote from the text to back up our point, and still does now, but about the excess skin. This issue must be extremely frustrating as he has been dedicated and determined to lose the weight, yet he is still faced with the same problem of feeling inferior in front of people. The article states that this can impact on a person's confidence. Okay, so here what I'm doing is I'm thinking about what that suggests about him as a person. Obviously he is happy that he's lost the weight, but the fact that he's got all of this excess skin is impacting on his self-confidence. Now what I've done next is I've used those inference skills to be very perceptive, and I've written, however, this is in contrast to the earlier viewpoint that losing weight can boost a person's well-being. So what I've done there is I have highlighted a contradiction or a change in a thought or a feeling within the text. And that shows the examiner that I am being perceptive, okay? So I've suggested, I've explained what is suggested in that perceptive comment. It seems that there is no ideal situation to be in. Losing weight can positively impact on your health, but can also leave you feeling downhearted about your new body shape. So I've explained that in both circumstances, in both situations, there are positives and negatives of both. So I've been very, very perceptive in my inference skills there. Again, the next point, quote, explain. Telling the examiner that I've read further down the article, later in the article, we learn that Claude is not completely comfortable with showing off his unclothed body despite the weight loss. Okay, so we've got our point there. This emphasises the fact that the excess skin has had a huge impact on his confidence. So again, we haven't actually got a quote yet, but then again, we've got in our perceptive comment here, we've got the word dreams. Nevertheless, he still decided to inspire people to achieve their dreams, and this is the main point of this PQE section, by posting a video of himself on YouTube. Okay? This suggests that whilst Claude feels his body shape is less than ideal, he believes his experience will inspire others to lose weight. The fact that the video was viewed by more than 3 million users, again, another quote using the embedded quote to back up what we're saying, in 1 week, leads us to believe that extreme weight is a widespread problem, and also that those individuals want to make a change. Okay, so we're using quotes throughout that point, quote, explain, to back up what we're saying, and we're being perceptive by explaining that obviously Claude is not comfortable with the way he looks, yet he's put a video on YouTube which has been viewed by millions of people. So obviously maybe it doesn't bother him that much, or perhaps, like suggested, he wants to inspire others to lose the weight. Now our final point, quote, explain, we've got at the end of the article, Claude explains that despite not having the perfect body, he is happy, loose skin and all. Again, we've told the examiner that we've looked at the end of the article and we've used our embedded quotes, suggesting that his health and well-being is much more important to him than the way he looks. It also suggests that the sense of achievement you feel from losing excess weight is the most important factor. So what we've done here is we've offered an alternative suggestion. And again, that pushes us up into the top band because it explains to the examiner, it tells them that you haven't just thought of one thing, you're offering that alternative interpretation. So I hope that you can see from this answer that I've written how you can structure your answer in the point, quote, explain structure, but you can also offer perceptive comments and that pushes you into the top band. You can get this as a free download on my website aceyourexams.wordpress.com and just head over to the downloadable resources section. You can also follow me on Twitter at aceyourexams. So if you've got any questions about this video or any of the other videos on my channel, then please do tweet me and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for listening.